Welcome, Jerry, to the show.
Hey, Jeffrey, good morning.
You're zooming in from Toronto. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about that or not later on today. Jerry, take a few minutes and tell the audience about you today, your company, etc.
Yeah, so I'm Jerry Schill. I started Schill Grounds Management about 29 years ago, coming up on 29 years in Cleveland, Ohio. Started out like a very traditional landscaping firm. We were kind of doing a little bit of everything for everybody. Weren't real specific about the kind of the markets that we were serving. And over the years, the business went through several different iterations. Began working with several different peer groups throughout the industry and several different consultants, and continued to refine the business over time. About 2012, we made a decision, a very intentional decision, to kind of shift the business into being a, commercial maintenance and snow and ice removal company in
That
our
was
market.
10 years ago, you made that shift.
10 years ago, yeah. And just 12 years ago, we started doing maintenance, actually. So it's been a pretty quick journey compared to where we're at today. So we made that shift, really kind of blew up the business, made some really tough decisions. And since then, we've managed to scale the business. We've now got 18 locations. We're working in 4 different states and 2 countries, and have done, a lot of that through organic growth as well as acquisitive growth.
Right. So somebody told me, this is rumor, gossip, let's just start right out with it, that either you wanted someone to buy you or you were going to go buy somebody. Is that accurate?
No, not particularly. So how rumors go. I think probably like a lot of companies out there that tended to kind of lean towards doing things the right way, and we're really focused on building a business, not really focusing on growing a landscaping company. There were opportunities for us with a lot of the larger strategic buyers in the market space, and it's flattering. But at my age at the time, I was 49 years old. I had a lot of runway left in front of me. I wasn't interested in kind of taking that path. But I've been a Vistage member for 12 years. I guess that makes me a slow learner. But a lot of the folks in my group had either been acquired or were doing acquisitions, or taking venture capital money. So I was really curious on how that worked. So I am a lifelong learner. I'm a knowledge junkie. I love to learn something new every day. So I kind of started exploring what those options look like. We have a unique geographic limitation in Cleveland because we are literally up on the lake. So we have no northern market. And a large part of Northern Ohio is also heavy agriculture. So in order for us to kind of grow our business, we needed to do something strategically to leave kind of the Cleveland market where we had a pretty strong market share. So I began looking at other opportunities in the Columbus market and Akron, Canton, and different places. And what I found was that, it requires a lot of capital to do it right.
Yeah.
And I probably, like several other owner operators, have enjoyed the fruits of what this industry has provided us over the years. It was a little bit daunting to think about going $4, $5, $6 million in debt at the ripe age of 50. When I have aspirations to kind of exit and, at around 60 or do what I want to do at that point. So I began really kind of taking a hard look and exploring private equity or just some form of capital raising. And so I started a process and interviewed several private equity companies, ended up settling on Argon Capital, who's my partner today. They're more of a family office kind of private equity hybrid. And it's proved to be an amazing experience. They've taught us a tremendous amount and have really given us and provided us the resources needed to continue to grow and scale our business.
Do you have like quarterly meetings with them where you have to report numbers?
Oh, we report numbers. There's no doubt about it. So we do a monthly flash period review, MD&A, management discussion analysis. So we really take a deep dive, kind of an inch wide, mile deep philosophy, and really dig into the root cause of everything, what's driving numbers and what's not. But probably the most important part about Argon, who we partnered with, is they are very people centric. They have other investments that are very people intensive, and they truly understand that at the core of our business is people. So they're very passionate and very considerate of the fact that, we need to make our primary focus the people side of the business. What is it going to do to help improve retention, increase employee engagement, become a top workplace, not only in the industry, but in the communities we work in. So pretty interesting concept with these guys. And they've done very, very well for themselves, kind of focusing on that side of the business. And then we do our quarterly board meetings. Little daunting at first, doing the board meetings, kind of putting them together and standing up in front of a group of people and really presenting the business. Vistage did kind of help me with some of those things in the peer groups. There's a lot of great peer group leaders out there, groups like yourself, where you force owners to get out of their comfort zone and really treat the business like a business, not a landscaping company. So, but they're fascinating. They're fascinating exercises, because you never really take time to slow down to look at what you've been able to do or accomplish. Yeah, you may start out the quarter with 10 different things, and we are EOS subscribers, so we practice traction. But the 4 or 5 things that you did get done, you got done really, really well, and they were transformational in the overall success of the business.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. I have a question. I have a good friend who's started up a few businesses in the tech space. And the first time he brought in private equity, and he found when he wasn't able to hit benchmarks, I don't know the details, but I guess he lost shares of the business or had to give up when he couldn't hit certain benchmarks. And by the time they sold the business, he didn't have a lot to show for it. I'm not comparing you to him, but is that typical setup? Is that how your contract is set up? You may not even be allowed to answer that question, but
Yeah, there's really 2 important things in the deal, right? It's like price and deal structure. So I'm not really sure what kind of deal structure they had. But I will tell you that the partnership that I'm in with Argon has been more than fair. They're very generous in terms of, both the time and the resources that they're providing us, and also the support they're giving us.
yeah. You and I have a lot in common, I realized as I was getting on the call. Not only are we wearing red shirts, which is not it, but I was a member of Vistage for many years. And the last thing you wrote on your little prep to me was, get comfortable being uncomfortable, which is my phrase. And I talked with all my clients about that. And how did you do that early on? Let's go back to the very beginning. Like you said, you transformed your business a couple times. What were you in the beginning?
Yeah, so my brother Joe and I, who's not with the company anymore, we were raised by parents that just worked their tails off. They were very young parents when they had us, and we understood not just by example, but the importance of working hard. So when we graduated from college with business degrees, we both played football in college, and so we understood the benefits of teamwork and hard work and all the different things. You eat what you kill kind of concept. It really was the foundation that allowed us to kind of go out and not just hustle, right, but survive the hustle. I think anybody that's an entrepreneur or a business owner knows that not every day is a great day. Most days are good. Some days are a lot better, but you have to be able to work together. You have to be able to deal with the ups and downs of the economy and the business cycle and people paying or not paying you. And you got to be willing to put in the work, right? Because there are going to be days somebody doesn't show up, and you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to get dirty. And that's the thing that I love the most about my brother and the team that we built around us is there really wasn't anything that we weren't willing to do, because everybody was really bought into the vision and the direction that we were taking the company. And we've still got employees today that have been with us for a large part of those years, well over 20 years. But we did everything. We turned the lights on, made the coffee, and we went and did the installs and mowed, and our wives helped us mow. And
what was the business early on? Was it everything, kind of a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I mean, there were days we were filling up sandboxes in the spring. We'd stuff mailboxes with, before they had technology, door hangers for every single service you could think of. We'd be putting in a sprinkler system one day. We had a route in an affluent area by us where we were kind of doing the waste cleanup for pets. We cleaned up construction debris in the winter for builders when there was no snow.
You were ahead of your time cleaning up poop.
Yeah, so we were anything to optimize, full asset and people utilization. So it didn't matter what it was. We were finding a way to fill up man hours.
Tell me about some of the mistakes as you reflect back. on your journey. Part of the issue is people are listening like, oh my God, Jerry Schill looks like he hit the lottery. It's perfect. And, we all know it's not. It's basically a series of bumps and bruises along the way. And so you mind sharing some of those lessons you made and what you've learned?
Well, it's only an hour show, so I'll pick out a couple.
I'll pick a few.
Yeah, so I would say we didn't engage with consultants and peer groups soon enough, or quicker.
Yeah.
The first 3 or 4 years, you got your head down. I think we hit 1 million after like 3 years. But we've seen people using other industry folks, whether it was peer groups or consultants, the state and local associations. I mean, back when we first started, there was a Lorain and Cuyahoga County Nurserymen's Association, which has since kind of went away. Plus, there was the Ohio Landscape Association. So I think if I were to do it over, I would leverage those resources earlier. Well, that would be one thing. And then just the whole concept of reaching out to peers. I mean, one of the things I love the most about this industry is you can literally be a competitor, and in a lot of cases in the same market, and folks have no issues sitting down and discussing within reason, the state of the industry and the things that are going on and lessons learned and all those things. So I think it's really important to kind of reach out and leverage the network. It's a lot easier to learn from other people's mistakes. I think at some point when the business really gets accelerating, it's like a flywheel, you start seeing that momentum. It's easy to start getting caught up in your own world and drinking your own Kool-Aid. But there's so many people out there that are willing to help and support you in your journey. One of the things we used was a group called SCORE. So it's the Senior Council of Retired Executives, and it's a group in Cleveland. I'm sure there may be in other major cities. It's a bunch of stodgy old men and women wearing wool suits, smoking cigars back in the day when you could smoke in buildings at the top of the terminal tower, and you could go down there and get free advice. So probably about our 3rd year in the business, we would literally go down there once a month with questions and get free advice from these folks. So I would tell people, like, reach out often and cast a wide net when you're growing your business and learn from other people. I would say probably another one was really drilling in and understanding the numbers. Really looking at our P&L back in the day, and we had used a consultant for years. Our P&L must have had 10 different profit centers: commercial maintenance, residential maintenance, irrigation, lighting, snow removal, holiday decor. So, but we were spending all this time and energy tracking all these different profit centers, but we didn't really understand how they ultimately impacted the business. And had we done that, there's probably a lot of things we would have stopped doing right away. But because of it, and because we were kind of caught up in growing the business, we really weren't paying attention to the numbers. I think we probably left some chips on the table along the way. I mean, we learned a lot from it, but you look at our P&L today, there's got 3 divisions. It's maintenance, enhancements, and snow and ice removal. I mean, that's it.
That's because you simplify the business, not how you look at the business.
Yeah, if you look at Jim Collins' Good to Great, right? So that's one of the big mistakes. Like, we were not a hedgehog for several years.
You want to explain that? I know what it is, but just explain for the audience.
Yeah, so Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, I probably read it 10 times. I could probably practically narrate it without opening it. But the concept was really focus on doing the one thing that you can be great at. Like, it's the Walgreens example and several others. But really just boil your business down into its basic functions, right? And keep what you need and get rid of everything else. If it's not providing, value to your employees or your customers, or, a return to your shareholders, stop doing it. And it kind of goes back to where I was talking early on. Like, we didn't pay attention to the numbers early on enough. I think in today's day and age with technology, there is no excuse for not understanding your numbers day one. You should be able to have a snapshot of your financials every single day if you need.
Well, I think there's having your numbers and understanding them. I mean, I work with 100 companies, probably more right now, in all the peer groups I run. And it's like a 2 or 3 stage process, right? Tackling them. It's like running down the football field, tackling the numbers. All right, I got the numbers, but now what? And so diving into them really is a whole separate exercise. You said you're still doing that today, presenting to your your board of investors, and at first it probably was terrifying, right? And then you got a handle on it. But that's like a lifelong journey, really. It seems to me, really getting a
Yeah.
handle on them.
So I'll be honest, I to this day would tell you that I'm not even close to being an expert in financial analysis, not even close. I
Yeah,
mean, like when it comes to a balance sheet, forget it. Like I can get through it and have a general understanding of what's going on. Same thing with the P&L. I can skim through them. Yeah, I would say one of the lessons that I did learn, right, is and my brother and I were both smart enough to hire people that understood more about these particular functions than we did. I
yeah.
am, I'm an operator at heart. I still love working in the business as much as I love working on it. I can run our entire business with a sheet of KPIs, 13 KPIs on a sheet of paper. And if I can see those every single week, I don't ever really need to see the P&L, although at this point I'm looking at a P&L all the time. If I
Sure.
know where we're at with KPIs or key performance indicators, I can tell you where the business is at any given minute.
I bet you could do it with the pencil and paper too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But and it really, again, KPIs forces you to look at the business and evaluate what are the leading and lagging indicators, the main leading and lagging indicators that help you run the business. There's, I don't know how many on the chart of accounts, there's hundreds of lines, right? My
But
KPIs are,
which
yeah,
leading indicators do you look at besides sales? Because sales
yeah.
is a common one.
So a lot of activity, like I'll just use the term activity. So we're kind of looking ahead, both from a business development standpoint and account manager standpoint, operations manager standpoint. They all have different activities that are required that drive optimal outcomes. Operations, we're looking at leading indicators that drive performance, right? Labor utilization, labor efficiency. Account managers, we're looking at the number of audits that they're writing against the number of proposals they're generating versus the
Mhm.
number of dollars they're writing, which leads to a backlog, right? So
Yep.
we're doing a lot of those different things. So sales is a big part of it, but there's operational indicators and then a lot of HR stuff today, which we're just probably for the, we're over 800 employees that we have a lot of work to do in this area, but we're getting a lot better at understanding and predicting, kind of the human capital needs throughout the business, not just seasonally, but annually. And then even like in an environment where you're doing acquisitions, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do an acquisition. What's this thing going to look like in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? So you're really forecasting a lot of that stuff
So
down
are
the
you
road.
talking about manpower planning or morale and soft issues?
All of it, all of it. Yeah. So, communication is every time we do a town hall, it's always communication and pay, right? So set pay aside because nobody's ever going to make too much money. But communication and training in our world come up all the time, one or two, and they're interchangeable. So, we're doing a series of town halls all the time, at least once a quarter, we're visiting these branches. Somebody's in the branches almost
What's a
weekly.
town hall? Just to be clear.
Yeah. So we'll get every employee at every location together and we go in there and at least keep them up to date on current events. We celebrate and work anniversaries, employees of the month, crews of the month, different things. So it's a lot of celebratory things. Typically involves breakfast or a cookout and some sort of awards type ceremony. And then we actually, my joke is nobody eats for free. So like while we're here, we're going to talk about the things that are going very well. And we focus on, it's an EOS kind of situation, right? What are the things that we're doing really, really well so we can do more of them? And then
Yeah.
what are the things that we should stop doing like immediately or fix?
Yeah.
And we have been doing that for, I think this was our fifth town hall. So, 15 months we've been doing them. And they have progressively gotten better every single time
Did you say
because we
once a quarter?
once a quarter
Okay.
minimum. Yeah. And
Right.
if there's an issue, we'll go more often, but typically once a quarter.
Nobody eats for free. I like that.
Yeah. So we're going to feed you, but then we're expecting some feedback. And we've used a bunch of, or a variety of different communication methods where now what we're finding is we're getting more feedback on paper. It used to be raise your hand, we're a family and, we want to hear what's going on and celebrate. But we
Yeah.
do find that we're getting a lot more. Now, the trick is we're going out and as soon as we get those responses, we're documenting them and aggregating them into a list. And we're looking at like, hey, these are major issues that we need to come up with a plan to fix. This is low hanging fruit that we can get some quick wins and like maybe even solve today. We had a location, one of our locations wanted like 5 new wheelbarrows and some hand tools. And it showed up like there's 30 employees. It showed up like 10 times.
Yeah.
So you run out and do that. So you earn some goodwill doing some of those things. And that's really the fun part of the business.
It's funny you mentioned that. When I do consulting in a company, I'll do confidential surveys and I'll go down pretty far depending on how big the company is. I'm always surprised at how the crews will write down tools they want. I'm like, how could the company not know about these basic things? I'm looking for obviously bigger fruit, but I'm always
Well,
surprised.
but here's the thing. I think people become tone deaf. I think owners and other leaders in the company get tone deaf because it's like, we don't have time to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right. We have bigger things to worry about. We've got to go, do a big project, or we got to go do an acquisition, or, we've got to get this report done. And the bottom line is none of that is accomplished without the people on the ground, getting the work done. So, listening.
Why are the operations guys? Why are the guys in charge of operations not on top of that? Are they trying to keep to the budget and hit the budget, or are they just too busy because manpower is an issue and so they're filling in and dropping down? And
I think it's all those reasons, to be honest with you. Like, you get busy, you don't want to hear about it. You got a bigger job to go do. So I don't have time to deal with the wheelbarrow. Use the one you're using. But I also think those are the opportunities to make little deposits of goodwill. And those are the things that eventually will pay dividends when you need them to go to the wall, right? When you need them to work 55 hours a week because you're short staffed, or show up in the middle of an event, right? Because it's, we got 6 inches of snow. And I don't think people do it intentionally. I just think we get in a rut. And that's kind of the thing with the town halls. And it's also one of the things I would tell you that we didn't do well. We didn't communicate enough. We were grinders. I mean, we were operational juggernauts. Our job was to go out and get work done and make money. We didn't share enough of that along the way. We had core values and a vision statement and all those things, but we never, we would write them and do it and have a strategic planning meeting once a year, put it in a binder, put it on a shelf, and never touch it. Come back the next year, look at it and say, we didn't get anything done. But I think taking the time to communicate and sharing not just what you're doing, but where you're going and how you're going to get there and what does that look like makes a tremendous impact in the way the business is going to perform long term. You get a lot more buy-in. You get a lot more buy-in.
When I'm consulting, the recurring issue is always communication. It's always it comes in different forms, but it's always in the top 3 of issues we're going to solve when we get together. Now, you've been scaling ultra fast, right? What did you say? You went from 3 branches to 18?
Yeah.
And so communication's got to be a big issue. How is it manifesting as a problem? How are you solving it?
So I don't think I'm that good at it, to be honest with you. I think when I'm doing it, I think I do a good job. I don't think I do it frequently enough or as intentionally as I need to. Now, we're still kind of in a transitional phase where we're all kind of doing everything. It's gotten a lot better last year. We've got a lot of key positions filled and everything. But
wait, what does that mean? What does that mean? You're all doing everything? That sounds like $1 million company.
Well, when you're scaling as fast as we've scaled, it's tough to keep pace. But we've managed to do it and do it profitably. But look, we've actually been harder on the people and softer on the process when it should be the other way around, right? Hard on the process, softer on the people. And again, in all fairness, like we've scaled really quickly. So, but going back to this whole idea of communication, it's like you want to communicate, right? But like I'm running in 3 different directions, and the rest of the team's running in 3 different directions. You're doing deals and you're focusing on the base business and you're dealing with the HR issues, and you've got a lot of people in the room to kind of help solve that. But it's easy to get sucked into it and forget to talk to everybody and share that journey. And I think it's important that they know even the bad stuff. Like, hey, like we screwed up, and we're really good at it. I think the thing that we do well is we fail fast, and it doesn't phase us. It doesn't slow us down. We learn from it and kind of keep moving. but we need to get better at communication too. We're looking at ways, how do we do it with technology? Like, how do we meet everybody once a month? Like, instead of once a quarter, how do we go to once a month or once a week with technology using video screens and things in the building? And it's not just me pontificating about everything, but it's, hey, we've got something going on with finance, we've got something going on with HR, we do a lot of community service type work, very philanthropic type projects. So it's like, how do we communicate really what's going on and all the time? You know, what we find is that it's great. We go out, we make great acquisitions. We're in Canada right now with a group that we were fortunate enough to kind of, you know, partner up with. But those things, you know, yes, it's important for the organization to be able to do those things, but you know, you still have to worry about the guys in the field. Like, what's in it for me? Like, what does that mean? Like, we hear you, you're telling us we're doing all these great things. It's like, but like, what's in it for me? That's where we need to get better at communicating with our staff, right? It's a career path, it's more opportunities, it's income, right? It's benefits for your family. It's all of those things that we need to do a better job of really kind of exciting our people and really getting them bought into what we're doing.
Yeah, so there's top down and bottom up. You said in the town hall, you get both, which is really important. And so can you get that with using technology? How will you ensure you get both?
I don't think one trumps the other. I just think it's another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
I think it allows us to be more visible, more present on a regular basis. I think it makes the town halls more meaningful when you show up and people have actually been hearing from you and seeing you and understand what's going on with the business versus just flying in, you know, or driving in to these town halls every 3 months, meeting with everybody, kind of spending, you know, 2 days in a location with them and then kind of leaving and coming back 3 months later. Again, I think I'm very people centric. I love getting out. I love doing, I think account management's the greatest job on the planet. When I get free time, I go do account management work. I love to go write proposals, walk properties and meet with customers. You know, getting out and being able to be with our team is important to me. And it's probably the thing that I struggle with the most, you know, in our current situation is I'm not as present as I used to be. And I can't, you know, I used to be able to put my arms around everything and it's impossible now. So
Yeah.
now it takes all of the owners and the owners network to kind of help do that and accomplish that stuff. So we're staying true to who we are and you know, who we were prior to even doing the acquisitions or selling, you know, in their case, but it's really important to kind of try to maintain that level of intimacy with our staff.
How many owners are you now? I mean, you started off you and your brother, right? And you said your brother's out. So how many are you now?
So we've done 8 acquisitions and 4 of those former owners are gone. So there's currently 4 still operating today.
Yeah. You know, on the face of it, I like what you're doing because I like you and you're from the industry and you've always been very generous at SIMA or at, you know, just basically giving back. You're in the flow, you're in the mix. You're not some financial guy who's come down and, you know, joined the board of SIMA or something. You know what I'm saying? So, trying to think what my point was here. But so I see you
telling me
guys.
how great I am.
Yeah. I see you as unique. Is that true? Are you doing it differently than others, or what makes this new business unique?
Well, I think there's several different things. One, you know, this was as much about succession for me as it was creating a legacy, right? I have been so blessed and so fortunate to have, you know, mentors like Mike Rory, peer group leaders, you know, guys in my groups with peer groups, like, you know, the Ben Collinsworths of the world, the Mike Wards and the Todd Pughs, and so many other guys that have given me so much and contributed to the success of our organization. That I think it would be irresponsible, absolutely irresponsible as a leader to not try to do exactly that 10x. Like I literally feel like it is a part of me. It's who I am to give back. This industry has given me and my family a life that I would have never dreamed of.
Yeah.
And we provide for thousands of people today, thousands.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we've got almost 1,000 employees, and multiply that by families and college tuitions and mortgage payments. I feel a huge indebtedness to everybody that's come before us and helped us. And it's absolutely what I intend to do through this medium or this vehicle, right? As we decide to kind of, sunset out of the business at some point. And I felt a profound responsibility to my team, to make sure that this business was set up to succeed me, right? When I'm gone. I was one of the gentlemen in my Vistas group, had a dear friend that owned a $30 million business, suddenly passed away in his early 50s. No succession plan, no wills, no estate planning, no nothing.
Yeah.
And it was devastating to him and his family, or to the family as well as the business. The business ended up going under. It was bought out underneath him for nothing.
Yeah.
So, and I never wanted that to happen. So I thought the most responsible thing as an owner that I could do, knowing that it was going to take years to find somebody that could, take over the business and run it and understand it. I needed to groom somebody, because as an industry, I don't think we do a very good job training people and developing people. I thought it was an important move to do that. My children did not want to be in the business, or weren't interested. Let's put it that way. And
Yeah.
nor would I have just handed it to them anyway. ESOPs didn't make sense. I've had friends that have done ESOPs and have kind of, unwound them. But
Did your kids see the P&L though? Did you sit down and show them the P&L?
no, never. Nope. You got to do it for the right. You got to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, but I think yes, yeah, of course. But where else do kids get this education? This is not about you. I'm just thinking out loud here. I think it's, I have 3 kids. One of my kids, we've sat down and showed the P&L of our consulting firm. The others aren't. One doesn't care and one's not ready. But I think it's good practice to do with one's kids is to educate them on the business. Let them see the guts from the numbers and from the field.
Yeah. So my kids were privy to the workings of the business, but they never understood the magnitude of the dollars.
Yeah.
And, I also, I was in a unique situation where I raised my children by myself for a long time.
You did.
And yeah, so for a dozen years. And
wow.
I wasn't going to force them into my world. If they wanted to be in it, and they all worked for us. They had to work for us or somebody. They had to work.
Okay. Good.
If they were interested in it, I would have been open to all of that. But
yeah,
I never wanted to force my world on them. That was just kind of my perspective.
Well, 12 years, they had a lot of you.
Yeah, more than they probably wanted.
Wow. That's unique.
Yep. It's what the good Lord dealt us.
How old are your kids now?
28, 26, 24, and 20.
What are they doing now?
My oldest daughter and son-in-law is a mother of 4. My oldest son is in Germany. He's a Green Beret, graduated from Xavier down in Cincinnati. My youngest daughter has a criminal justice degree from Bowling Green. She's living her best life. And my youngest son is a sophomore at University of Kentucky.
Nice. Well, it's a great mix. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So something else I wanted to ask you. So there's 2 kinds of 10X, right? Or two kinds of, actually, that's not true. There's 2 types of growth. One is acquisition, one is organic. And they really serve 2 different purposes. I mean, they're similar but they really are, let me think how to say this. One probably gives more opportunity to the upper echelon of the company, and the other probably spreads opportunity around the company. And so that's my assumption. How do you balance those 2 out as you're steering the ship?
Well, I don't understand your perspective, but I'll respectfully disagree based on the way I'm thinking that you mean it.
Well,
I would argue that growth is good for the organization, period. Because it does, look, profit's not a dirty word. No profits, no opportunities. We're not getting better benefits, better equipment. There's no CapEx to spend. So you
Yep.
need to generate a profit, a fair return.
Yep.
It also scalability, right? So I look at, or there is nothing better than organic growth. Organic growth is, in my opinion, absolutely the golden egg for our business. You have to go out and be able to exhibit and show that you can grow your business organically. Now, we have historically here, we grew 17.1% organically last year. Organically.
That's
Now
great.
we grew 7x through acquisitions. So acquisitions, in my opinion, are a great opportunity to scale your business. It does not preclude you from going out and organically growing that business at the exact same time, right? Because you can go buy all the companies that you want, and if you cannot generate organic growth from those acquisitions, that business is worth nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll get a little bit of arbitrage from the scale of the business, but
Yes,
you're
yes.
not going to maximize shareholder value or create enough, margin to go out and do the things that you want to do as an organization. Hiring safety coordinators. Now, look, how many companies have safety coordinators or all these other high level positions where you can go out and actually train, and not just train employees, but develop employees, like build out a university. Those are the things, that's what profit buys. So again, acquisitions help you scale the business. Organic growth is what actually helps you grow the business.
So so you're confirming my, I guess it was a vague thesis that I was throwing at you there. And actually you're saying even more about it. So the organic growth is really what returns shareholder value and employee value.
Yeah, we think about it. You're going to go do acquisitions, right? They cost money. It's debt. Organic growth doesn't really cost you anything.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
do you
again, it's a great way to scale a business if you have the capital and the resources and the ability to integrate those businesses.
Do you have a purposeful strategy? I spend a certain amount of my time on acquisition versus organic.
No, I'm probably the least organized person in my company. We do. So we set pretty robust goals related to organic growth. And it's north of 10% always. And we have always been successful. Even the acquisitions that we've done have historically been above that 10% growth mark. I would say on average is probably 13 to 15% organic growth. Doing acquisition comes down to bandwidth. So there'd be nothing worse than going and doing an acquisition and not being able to support the acquisition. So it's like deal suicide. So organic growth, you can plan for it, right? You can figure out what kind of human capital requirements you're going to need, what kind of CapEx requirements it's going to take, are you going to need new facilities or add more bodies? Again, going out and looking at a deal, it's like, do we have the capacity, the bandwidth, and the support to go out and do this acquisition? Because you have to integrate acquisitions. You have to integrate these businesses into your business model. You can't use duct tape and bubble gum to go buy a bunch of companies and not bring them together into one organization. The whole goal of doing that is to capitalize on best practices and find synergy in the organizations, right? Remove all the barriers and the obstacles to growth that otherwise smaller, I don't want to say less sophisticated, but smaller, less sophisticated operators have the ability to do or pay for, because scale matters.
Any mistakes you want to share from the acquisition perspective? One thing you did early on or even recently that, oops, we won't do that again.
Yeah, there's no more important variable or factor when doing an acquisition than people. I don't care how well that business runs in its current state. If they don't have a healthy organization, top down, bottom up, if they don't have a healthy culture, and I know everybody says culture and it's almost getting to be like a buzzword, but if they don't have a healthy organization where they're open, communicating, people feel like they're being taken care of and supported, and you're kind of able to nurture those people along, that deal, regardless of how much the financial benefits are, would be the worst deal you've ever done.
How do you
And
find?
sometimes the deals you don't do are the best deals.
Yeah, yeah. How do you find out? Because I can imagine if you're looking at a company to buy, and they don't want to tell their employees, right? They don't want to get ahead of themselves. So how do you get in and figure out the culture? Now, maybe you just know the company so well that it's a given, but what if you don't? How do you figure that out?
Well, sometimes you don't. That's why I know that there are sometimes devastating consequences for doing it.
Yeah,
You and look, 18 months ago, we had never done an acquisition in our life. Now we've done 8.
18 months ago. Dang.
Yeah, well, 20, it's 20 months. I'm sorry. So, but yeah, we had never done an acquisition, and our first one did not go as planned.
Hmm.
That business is doing well today, but there was a lot of uphill work to do there. And there were just things, one that, chalk it up to experience. We didn't know what we didn't know. But we didn't ask enough tough questions. We didn't separate people enough and really get a sense of what was going on.
Yeah.
And that organization ran very well in the environment that it was in.
Yeah.
Now, when you disrupt that environment, right, and bring other people in that have different expectations, all good intention, right? Like, let's put in some software. Let's get these guys the tools they need, invest in CapEx, go buy new trucks and trailers and mowers. It becomes disruptive, not just to the employees, but even to the former owners. It's a big shock. It's a big change.
All right. So it's like buying a company, hiring an employee. You really got to take time to get to know the culture of that person or thing that you're trying to integrate into your company.
Hire slow, fire fast.
There you go. So I'm gonna just shift course here a little bit. You have bought a couple companies that to me are kind of famous in their reputation, maybe even more than you were, right? I mean, you bought some real gems. I kind of know them, or at least one of them, better than I knew you. And so how did you do that? How did you take these couple gems off the market?
Yeah. So there's, in the grand scheme of things, yes, there was an acquisition, right? We went out and we acquired their company. We purchased the company.
Yeah.
But we're going in and doing these deals as operators, right? Like, the egos are off the table. We all have egos. I mean, you can't fix that. That's why we're all unemployable. But at the end of the day, when you have a shared vision, there's alignment and shared expectations, right? Like, these folks that you're talking about are getting to be old dinosaurs like I am too, right? Like, they have to start thinking about their own mortality as well and the succession of the business. There's always multiples are good right now and everything else. But, at the end of the day, everybody that we have partnered with has genuinely put the needs and the concerns, of their team, right, ahead of their own. Like, we've all done very well for us. We've all been very fortunate and blessed, but there's an aligned interest there. And it's which is why I refer to it as the owner's network. It's like the most expensive peer group on the planet. But we're able to get together and share ideas and look, we're growing this business at a pace that there are weeks when there are things that need to be fixed or solved for, and I don't have the answer for it.
Yeah. Like,
I feel comfortable and safe to tell them that, and we all collectively will figure it out. So I think that's the number one thing is we all want to continue to work. We all want to continue to provide for our organizations. We all know that there's opportunity in the market. We also know that there's a better way to go out and build this kind of network, not at the expense of people, but, with people. And we've seen some of the other acquirers or strategics that go out and kind of have dirtied up the market or given it a bad name, so to speak. Under our direction and under our guidance, we're gonna do this differently, and we're gonna make mistakes along the way. There's no doubt, but we're pretty excited about where we're going right now.
So can I be more specific about names and such?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's all over. Everybody knows.
Yeah. So like a year ago, Todd Pugh was speaking at my Summer Growth Summit, and somebody asked him, I think it was me, about thinking of selling or whatever. And he's like, no. Of course he's got to say that. And then of course he joined your organization. And his company was a lot larger than yours was. Is that right? Fair?
Yeah, it was bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really what my question is. What are you doing that's attracting larger, but just really gems in the market? They're saying, yeah, I want to, it's kind of like a merger with you. I know you're buying them, but in some sense, it must feel like a merger if they're staying active. So what do you think your secret sauce is that's letting that happen?
Yeah. So make no mistakes, they are not mergers. They were acquisitions, you
Right.
know, just like my company was. I happen to be the idea guy and the CEO and the president of the organization, but
Okay.
you know, we're investors in the organization now, right? And significant investors, all of us are. Like
Yeah.
we believe in this model. And to me, that's really kind of our secret sauce is we didn't just sell our businesses, right? We did sweep some chips off the table, but we all rolled a significant amount of equity back into this business model because we truly believe in it and we want to scale it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no mergers, but
Well, by merger, what I meant was he's willing to get alongside with you and keep going.
yeah. So again, I think it's aligned interest and shared expectations. I mean, again, they didn't have children that wanted to be in the business, right? They needed a succession plan for that business model.
Yeah.
We've seen the opportunity. Look, as owners, you have to accept your limitations, right? I also tell people don't get hung up on top line revenue because top line revenue doesn't mean anything. It's margin, right? Like what's left. That's really what's important. And business mix matters. So why are these folks doing it? I think we have a compelling story and a compelling opportunity to kind of go out and do this different, right? You know, any product that you go to sell, there has to be differentiators, right? And our differentiator is we're going to put people first in this organization. We're going to expect a lot. We're going to put people first. Everything that we do and we focus on is not to grow top line revenue. It's how do we build a better mousetrap? That's what we're trying to solve for. How do we fix the retention problem? How do we fix the training problem? How do we fix the development problem? Those are all things that every one of us are passionate about. For example, Todd loves culture. Todd loves that type of problem, right?
He
So
does.
Todd's the guy that's going to help with that. You got Jay in Canada. Jay's a finance background. He loves CapEx. He's great with numbers. He's going to help with CapEx because at our size company now, that's a big deal, right?
Mhm.
Mike Ward is a budget guy, numbers guy. Like he works on a lot of special projects, not involved operationally day to day anymore, but he works hand in hand with our CFO and corporate controller to help make sure that we've got metrics set up in place and we've got KPIs that make sense so we can continue to track and grow the business. So everybody's got a unique ability and that we bring all that to the table, right? As one. That's the important part of what we're trying to do. Everybody's got to say.
Yeah. Interesting. All right.
And
What's
it's hard.
your-
And it's hard.
Well, but you make it look easy.
No, trust me, it's 10 times harder than I ever thought it was going to be.
What is that? How does your family support you on that?
Well, I'm an empty nester, so it's a lot easier. So, but we've been very busy. So we've made, you know, some concessions and done some things as a family. So we got really good opportunities and we go to the lake quite a bit, kind of hang out together. So we make time to try to, I don't like the whole term like work-life balance. It's really work-life integration anymore, right? Because,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sitting in Toronto talking to you and a couple of years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So we just find ways to kind of work around it. They're excited. They're really excited. It's been a lot of fun. I'm having fun, but it's a lot of work.
For sure. I know we're going to run out of time here. Give us your predictions for the future. Where do you see, what do you see, where or what do you see for the landscape industry in the future?
Yeah. So look, I mean, it's a $118 billion industry. It remains highly fragmented. I think consolidation is inevitable, or will continue to consolidate the space. We have seen a little bit of slowdown. We haven't, but as a whole, from an equity perspective, we've seen a little bit of a slowdown. I don't know if folks are because of the macroeconomic conditions with fuel and labor. I'm sure people are seeing a little bit of margin erosion, so they might be kind of stepping back for a minute. But I continue to see the business. Look, it's an essential service. We proved that through COVID. There are so many great operators coming up, like we were 25 years ago. I was just down in Memphis last week, and there's so many, 20 and 30-year-old guys that are 10 times smarter than we ever were
Right.
with technology and everything.
Yep.
So I think it's exciting time still for the industry, and I could look for it to continue to flourish. And I look for there to be opportunities from a consolidation standpoint. And, I think, Scott Brickman did the industry wonders, right? I mean, I know people, you take it however you want, right? But he brought a lot of awareness to our industry. He really did. I mean, before he was really doing some of the things that he was doing or their organization was doing, not many people kind of gave us a lot of second looks,
Yeah.
so to speak. So I think that the business will continue to grow. I continue to flourish. I think we're going to continue to attract a lot of young, smart talent who are going to continue to really make this industry kind of everything we hoped and dreamed that it would be over time. So the technology side of our industry is incredible, with all the robotics and, drones, and I mean, everything that they're working on, the chemicals and the things that we can do today, that we couldn't do even 10 years ago are pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So much is going on. I really like what you said about the young people when you talked about Memphis. I was talking with a friend of mine, a consultant in a different industry. We were talking about, I'm getting older, he's getting older. Every year that seems to happen. And talking about the younger clients, younger contractors in our industry, and they seem smarter than we were, whether it's both they went to school for finance and joined the industry, or they're just autodidact, they're learning on YouTube or however they're learning, but they just seem smarter, more knowledge. And I don't know if it's more ambitious, but more just higher standards on what they want to achieve in life. Do you see that?
I do. And I'm a learning junkie. I learn something every day. I sit down and read because I have to know something and that I didn't know yesterday. But today's generation has so much more access to knowledge.
Yeah.
When I was in college, and I know it sounds like every story that every old person tells, but we would have to read 2 or 3 chapters in a book, a hardcover book, to figure something out. Now you can Google it and understand it, and 2 screenshots and be done, right? And you're off to the races. I think information, you can exchange information at such a fast rate nowadays. You can go to market with an idea in literally, an hour, and be in business. So I that's the part I think is really exciting. I also think these younger folks are more intrigued by, look at the trade shows, the OPEI and Elevate, and all SIMA and ASCA. These guys, I think they're more inclined to do these things, go visit these things and learn from people than we were early on.
Interesting. Okay.
So, and I just, again, I think the knowledge flow is so much faster and so much better today than it was when we first got started. I was blown away at the younger generation at these events we were at last week, and what they know in 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the business. It took us 15 years to know.
Amen. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. And look, there's going to be a whole nother generation of consultants coming up here soon too, right? I mean, somebody's learning every day.
Yeah. I'm bringing on 2 of my clients, younger people, into my organization. Younger, smart, driven. So
yeah, look, I think we have a responsibility, and I don't care what industry it is, a responsibility. If you've been given a lot, you owe a lot. And I think it's the one thing that we need to get comfortable with and make sure that we do a good job, paying back that legacy.
yeah, you really have to get satisfaction out of mentoring. I mean, for me, that's it, right? Got my kids, clients, and I try to mentor here local as well. Harder when you travel a lot, by the way. So you have to look for that mentoring where you can find it.
Yeah, and I would argue that I probably learn more during mentoring sessions than I'm probably giving. I mean, you can learn a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely the teacher learns more. I appreciate your time here. All right, so can you tell us what you're doing in Toronto, or maybe you already did?
Yeah, so I think most people know we acquired and partnered with TLC, Jay Murray and Dave Leff. So
Yep.
we're up here celebrating because that's important to do. Can't be all work. And if anybody knows our crazy Canadians from the North, Jay and Dave, they like to have fun. So we're going to do that, and we're going to spend 2 days working on integration plans and next steps and opportunities. And again, we want to have fun doing this, so it's important that we stay engaged with everybody that we're partnering with along the way.
I have known Jay forever, since I became a consultant X years ago. I started speaking in Canada because I lived in Connecticut almost right away. And Jay was on the trade show floor for Greenius. So I've known him forever. And then Dave was a member of my peer group for many years. So give them both a hug for me.
I will. Yep. We're going to have some fun. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of hugging.
Hugging and crying, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I appreciate you.